Now let's turn our attention to working with auxiliary light inside. Because LED lighting is so prevalent for lighting indoors, I'll discuss the many ways we can use it. The first part of this section will show LED lights used only as a main light. We'll begin with the warm color temperature lighting that we humans enjoy for home decor. What do you do when you have ceiling spotlights? You know how I feel about top light, so you can either unscrew them or you can use them to your advantage. An overhead light bulb necessitated tilting her head up. Since we're shooting raw, we can neutralize a warm color temperature bulb. But should we? Taking out all the warmth made the image technically more correct, but I think artistically cold. So I brought most of that warmth back, but not all of it, and I like it better. This is typical of the warmth from a soft white light bulb that isn't very attractive. She was lit by a dining room ceiling light. Balancing out that warmth in the raw conversion gave me nice colors on her hair, and also brought out the blue above her that was caused by a window. On this shot I used a softbox with an orange gel to our left, but as you can see the top light is messing with her face. Tilting her head down so her hair blocks that light from hitting her face corrected the problem. Tilting her head up for a loop light pattern also works. This nan light has an adjustable beam from wide to fairly narrow, and you can use it to illuminate someone in the middle of other things that you don't want to light. When the existing light is warm, you should match your lighting to match that warmth. If the light doesn't have an adjustable color setting, you can use a colored gel in front of it. It produces a small spot of light for a really nice glamour look. But when your light overpowers the ambient and background lighting, you don't want the background to go dark, so you'll need to expose to include the background or light it so that you don't end up with a floating head. The full-strength spotlight was too much, and we ended up with a floating head because you can't see anything else. A frosty diffuser in front of the light spreads the spot. It also reduced the strength so I could use a longer shutter speed to incorporate more existing light. As an on-location photographer, I prefer to use the actual location as the background, but sometimes it just doesn't work, as you can see here. So in the previous images, I used a portable background. The existing light in this room is warm, but it's coming from an angle that I don't like. The spotlight can add or overpower that room light to make it come from a direction that I'd prefer. I really like the ability to handhold and see the result of continuous light. This isn't bad, and with some kind of special effect it could work. But let's see what we can do with the spotlight. First, I tried side lighting the broad side of her face. It's easy to experiment with a handheld continuous light. With a portable light, you can aim it from whichever direction you choose. I prefer this frontal light. Because my hands were busy either holding the light or holding the electronic shutter release, this works best with the camera on a tripod, especially since the light levels aren't quite high enough to hand hold the camera without risk of camera shake. This doesn't look like much, but with a little lighting magic, we can make something out of nothing. I lit her face with the spotlight from a balcony in her home. I didn't mind the spotlight's warm color, since I thought it went well with the room lamp in the image. This is an instance where only a spotlight would have worked. Had I used a light with a wider spread, it would have lit the walls and ceiling that we can see in the mirror behind her. I placed my spotlight on the ground in front of me. Otherwise, we would have seen its reflection in the mirror too. Small flashlights work very well when you want a narrow beam of light for a dramatic effect, and when light levels are low, like indoors or later in the evening outdoors. By the way, I added a piece of acetate over the light because this one has a little color impurity from center to far edge, as most single LED flashlights do. The acetate evens that out. Of course, the downside of doing that is a somewhat reduced light output. I usually prefer a big light source. The soft light that comes from a large light source is easy and forgiving. But a small light can do a better job of sculpting the face. With a large light, we would not have seen those great cheekbone shadows. We need to be able to overpower uninteresting light, and sometimes it doesn't take much power to do it. A simple flashlight was much stronger than the boring light that was there and made a powerful image that this guy chose for his wall portrait. With long shutter speeds, we can do things not possible, or at least not easy with flash. When the beam is too small from a spotlight to light the area that you want, you can stop down and use a long shutter speed to give you time to paint with light. Okay, stay with me here. I used a red gel flash on the divider in the background. But if I used my main light on her that had a wide spread, it would wash out the color from that gelled flash. To solve that little dilemma, I used a simple flashlight to only light her. But then I was concerned about her lower body going into a boring shadow. So then I used a long shutter speed to give me time to light her whole body with the flashlight. And I did that by starting off with her upper body, by her face, and then I moved to stroke the light along her thigh from slightly behind her.